So Peter Pan and Wendy the movie has officially been released on Disney Plus, and I had the unfortunate pleasure of having to watch this god awful movie that has absolutely no soul within it, just like every other Disney live action remake that has come out so far. With that being said, I mentioned in my last few videos that they were going to do their typical trope, which is to come out and say that they are being review bombed once the truth comes out about the live action remake and everybody realizes that nobody likes this movie. And just like clockwork, the articles have started to come out about review bombing, how racists are review bombing this movie, how misogynists are review bombing this movie. They're coming out with every excuse under the sun to try to justify this god awful movie that I was unfortunately had to bear witness to. Now, this article comes to us from InsideTheMagic.com. It has a nice little rainbow coloring, by the way, shocker. And it says Peter Pan and Wendy review bombed for being charmless and politically correct by good old Chloe James. And I'm sure Chloe James is definitely not a white woman. It says Disney's latest live action remake just hit Disney Plus, and like most of its predecessors, it's stirring up a storm online. Now, I love how they try to push that narrative, and they do it every single time it's a movie that they know is going to bomb, right? They even tried to beat the curve and tried to release it on Disney Plus and not actually release it in theaters because they knew that this movie was not going to do well. But before we get into the article further, guys, consider liking this video to help push us out into the YouTube algorithm. It says, just like Disney's original Peter Pan with 1953 and the numerous other adaptations over the past century, Peter Pan and Wendy 2023 retells J.M. Barrie's Peter Pan, or The Boy Who Wouldn't Grow Up, which follows Wendy, John, and Michael Darling as they travel to Neverland with the ageless eponymous hero. Now, I'm going to be doing a review, guys, on this particular movie, so, okay, just so you guys are aware, I'm going to do multiple parts to it, so stay tuned for those reviews. They are going to come. It does take a while to do those reviews, so please give me some time. But I gotta tell you, this movie, one of my biggest issues with this movie is that if you guys look at this picture and you see how it looks, how monotone it looks, how the color grading is for the entire scene that's going on here with the boat and whatnot and the cliff. The entire movie looks like this. Literally, the entire movie looks to be 1 to 2 colors or shades, and that's it. The color grading in this movie is so fucking god-awful that it really makes me feel like I'm watching the most boring movie of all time. There is no animated, like, feel to it. There's not even a little bit of magic to it. They try to showcase magic with the pixie dust, and it literally just falls flat simply because it looks so flat. It is so hard to get excited and like happy at what you're looking at when it looks so fucking depressing. That's really what it is. It looks very depressing. It says Peter Pan and Wendy differentiates itself from past renditions of Barrie's tale by taking a darker approach. Literally, when the trailer debuted in March, fans slammed its drab and depressing visuals that seemingly sapped the film of its nostalgic magic. Since its release on April 28, director David Lowery has done a good job of explaining away the movie's gloomy overlay as a move to make Neverland feel like a place that a child could actually get to. However, some viewers are still aren't happy with the film's final product, leading to a phenomenon that's become all too common: review bombing. So again, they're trying to take all criticisms about the movie. They're trying to make it seem like, oh, it's not real criticism. It's just angry fans review bombing. That's it. It's just angry fans. Nothing more, nothing less. The fans are the problem. It's not our product. It's not us as a company. It's not the way that we actually presented this movie. The presentation of this movie is totally not bland. We promise. And that's the issue. They never want to take accountability for what they do with these movies, and that's their fault. It seems like Hollywood is the only place that you could fail upward, where if you put out subpar products that everybody hates and they're very vocal about, all you got to do is blame the fans and suddenly you're getting promoted to your next movie and your next sequel. It really is a big issue that is very prominent in Hollywood, and it's a problem. So it says, as of April 29th, Peter Pan and Wendy currently boast 41.4% 1 out of 10 ratings on IMDb, equal to 1,551 of the total 3,846 votes. On Rotten Tomatoes, 22% of audiences claim to have enjoyed the film, compared to 69% of critics. Now, if I'm not mistaken, the Rotten Tomatoes score has actually gone even lower. Now it's down to about 20% at the time of filming this video. It says, so far, critics have generally been kind towards Peter Pan and Wendy. The consensus on Rotten Tomatoes is that Peter Pan and Wendy's obligatory fidelity to the animated classic keeps it from achieving Neverland Nirvana, but David Lowery's pensive direction gives its rendition some of its own magic. For those gifting it just 1 star, however, this lack of Neverland Nirvana is an issue they just can't overlook. Now, for me personally, I really just can't get over the fact of how bland the movie looks. I've said this over and over again, and I'm going to put that in my review when I finalize my review. This movie is some of the most bland work I've ever seen. It is really just so unbelievably dull to look at. It doesn't give me a magical movie vibe. You know what I'm saying? Like Peter Pan, when you're going into Peter Pan, you're kind of expecting a certain level of feel and magic, and this movie has none of that. You can throw all the pixie dust you want at whatever character you want, but you don't even get that level of magic feel when she does that, because even that isn't the same monotone color that the entire movie is in. When that shows up as yellow, the entire movie looks yellow or gold or whatever the color, monotone color they use on the color grading. So the color grading in this movie is really just throwing me off in terms of a vibe. I've never been bored by Peter Pan before, wrote Rotten Tomatoes user Rick S. Drab, plotting, charmless. User Kaito S. agreed, writing the very definition of mediocrity. The VFX are painful to look at. How did this movie cost hundreds of millions in production? I'm sure, I don't know. Now, I never actually looked at the budget for this movie, but apparently it was a lot, which is crazy to me because they are literally on an empty island 50% of the movie. So what are we doing here? Other users took issues with plot changes that they deemed unnecessary, such as adding female members to the Lost Boys. Disney is done, wrote user Ramen A. What happened to this company? They turned Lost Boys into Lost Girls. It was a Lost Boys because the girls were not too dumb to get lost. Apparently the girls are dumb now too. They're dumb for diversity. For some, it was Wendy's characterization that threw them off their viewing experience. User SD dubbed Wendy an overpowered Mary Sue, which, listen, she absolutely is, and complained about the new backstories written for Peter and Hook. Like a lot of recent cases of review bombing, not every reason is valid. Just as with the Marvels in 2023, which was dislike bombed for being too woke in April, and Pedro Pascal's The Last of Us, which faced a similar fate after featuring a same-sex couple, much of the reasoning can be attributed to online users with a chip on their shoulder about political correctness. The casting of Yara Shahidi as Tinkerbell and the decision to rework the storylines of the film's Native American characters to be more culturally sensitive triggered similar responses in the run-up to Peter Pan and Wendy's release. How are you more culturally sensitive when you throw in every stereotype imaginable to that indigenous person? Like, it's ridiculous. You gave this fucking girl a tomahawk. It is just that level of insane. But again, this is through the eyes of people who aren't really diverse, okay? And they're trying to think of what it's like to be diverse because, again, this is not being made. Like, the indigenous character in this movie was not created or written or anything by an indigenous person. It was written by a white liberal, most likely. However, some reviews make a fair point. Disney's live-action remake train shows zero signs of slowing down. That's despite overwhelmingly negative reviews of Pinocchio and complaints about other recent releases. That's interesting you won't mention Little Mermaid. For a studio that built its name on innovation to rely so heavily on its own back catalog for inspiration is, at best, laziness. At worst, it shows that Disney's creative well is running dry, and the longer it ignores the backlash, the longer it seems like it just doesn't care. And that's the truth right there. Disney does not care about the backlash. Disney does not care about making good movies anymore, making good TV shows anymore, making a good product. They don't care. People keep going to their parks and giving their money for their overpriced attractions, and that's how they're making their killing. So whatever they make on the entertainment sector, that's just gravy for them. If they lose a couple few $100 million, whatever, they got all the money in the world to cover it. So again, they don't care. They have an ideology they want to push. They have a message they want to push, and that's more important than making money at all for Disney. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you did enjoy it. And if you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.